Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down a really powerful framework for personal transformation. It's from a book called The Paradigm Process, and it's all about a journey out of the patterns that cause us suffering and into who we really are. So let's dive in. Okay, let's just start right here with this quote because, wow, it really hits home, right? We all do this. We all wear masks. We build these personalities to protect ourselves, to get people to like us, to hide the parts of us we think are, well, unacceptable. The thing is, those masks can start to feel less like a costume and more like a cage.
And that really leads us to the biggest question of all, doesn't it? If you could just set aside all the roles you play, all the expectations, all the armor you've put on over the years, who would be left? Who are you, really? This whole explainer is basically a map to help you find out.
So let's explore this first big idea, the prison of personality. The way the book frames it, our everyday personality isn't really our true self. Nope. It's actually a very complex survival strategy that we've been building our entire lives. Think of it like this. We have two basic operating systems. Most of us, most of the time, are running on the survival mind. That's our ancient lizard brain programming. It's all about avoiding danger, playing it safe, and just getting through the day. But there's another option, the thrive mind. And that's where the good stuff is. Creativity, connection, growth, real healing. The whole journey we're talking about is how to switch from one to the other. And here's the really good news. You're not stuck in that prison. There is a way out. The book calls it an awakening. It's this conscious choice to move from just reacting to whatever life throws at you to actually creating the life you want. This journey has a name, a paradigm shift. And let's be clear, this isn't about slightly tweaking a few habits. This is a fundamental transformation. It's a deep shift away from an identity that's built on fear and toward one that comes from your true nature, what the author calls your sacred self. This is maybe the perfect metaphor for the process. I mean, think about Pinocchio, right? He starts out as a puppet, a thing made of wood, just an idea of a boy, completely controlled by outside forces. His entire story is about the painful, difficult journey of becoming real. He has to learn honesty and bravery and compassion to turn from a construct into a real, feeling, living being. That's our journey. So how do you actually do this? What's the tool? The book introduces this concept of contemplative intelligence, or CQ for short. The easiest way to think about it is like mental strength training. It's the practice of using your own awareness to consciously pull yourself out of those automatic fear-based reactions and into a state where you can choose how you want to be. Of course, a journey like this isn't going to be a walk in the park. Every hero's quest has its monsters, its dragons to slay. But in this story, the dragons aren't out there somewhere. They're inside us. They're our own inner saboteurs, the parts of us that fight like crazy to keep us in survival mode. The book points to three big ones, the ringleaders, you could say. They're called the master insurgents. First, there's fear, which is the foundation of the whole prison. Then there's drama, the constant noise and distraction that keeps us from looking inward. And finally, distrust, which keeps us from being vulnerable enough to truly connect. These three are a powerful team. And from those three masterminds spring 10 specific characters, or ego insurgents. You've got the judge, that relentless inner critic, the victim who's convinced they have no power, the controller who has to manage every little detail to feel safe, the perfectionist who's so afraid of failing they can barely start. Do any of those sound familiar? I bet at least one rings a bell. So what exactly are these ego insurgents? Well, the book calls them the supervillains of our psyche, and that is a perfect description. They're basically defense mechanisms we built when we were kids to protect ourselves from getting hurt. And they might have worked back then, but now, as adults, they're the very things that block us from our true selves and keep us locked in fear. Okay, so we've met the bad guys. Now, how do we beat them? This is where the hope comes in. The book lays out 10 very clear, very actionable pathways to get past these insurgents and finally claim your freedom. And each of these 10 pathways has this really elegant two-step dance to it. It's a process. First, you learn to consciously let go of one of those ego insurgents, like, say, the controller. But here's the magic. When you let that go, you create an empty space, and into that space, you get to recover a core quality of your sacred self that was buried underneath, in this case, something like self-love. It's a trade-up. When you get right down to it, this whole process is really an emotional upgrade. It's about consciously moving away from the world of fear-based emotions, anger, resentment, blame, jealousy, and stepping into the world of love-based emotions like gratitude, compassion, trust, and courage. The 10 pathways are the bridge that gets you from one side to the other. Which brings us to the destination. What's on the other side of that bridge? What does it actually mean to live as your sacred self? I mean, what's the reward for doing all this hard work and facing down those inner dragons? Well, first, it's really important to know this isn't just some nice philosophy. This stuff is backed by a mountain of science. We're talking more than 50,000 studies on things like mindfulness and meditation from top-tier institutions, Yale, Harvard, Stanford. All of them point to the same incredible conclusion. We have the ability to literally change our own brains and bodies. And the result of all that work is that you start to live in the Thrive Mind. It is exactly what it sounds like. It's a state of being where all your energy isn't being burned up just trying to survive. Instead, you're free. You're living from a place of authenticity and creativity and a deep sense of peace. You stop being a victim of your past and you start becoming the creator of your future. Ultimately, this journey toward the sacred self points to something really profound. This quote from the mystic Meister Eckhart hints at it. It's a state of unity, where that feeling of being a separate me against the world just dissolves. It's about realizing you're not a drop in the ocean, you're the entire ocean in a drop. And so we're going to end where the book begins, with a puzzle. On one of the first pages, it just says, the answer to everything is O. It's kind of like in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where they get the answer 42 long before they know the question. What could O mean? The book promises to reveal the question at the very end, leaving us with this final thought. Maybe the point of the journey isn't to find the answer, but to finally become the kind of person who's ready to understand the question